Arrow Season 3, Episode 18, Public Enemy. Definitely a great episode with a pretty surprising ending with them saving Oliver by having Roy kind of take his place as Green Arrow. But it was definitely an awesome episode. We got to see, finally we kind of went back to the flashbacks of Oliver and we got to see what happened with the character who we initially thought was Shadow, and it turns out it was actually her twin sister. But we got those flashbacks. We got to see Maseo and Katana come in. They were reunited with their son. We got a cool little fight scene inside of, I can't think of her name. I can't remember her name at all. But Shadow's sister, we got a cool little fight scene inside of her apartment. And Oliver telling her what happened to her sister and her father as well. And we may or may not see her come back in the future. Like, it could just be a thing that they do in the flashbacks where it's like it's this character and it was just, you know, the truth, it was the parallel was that the truth was kind of a powerful weapon, the information rather than the actions, and that was obviously a huge thing in this episode with Ra's al Ghul telling Captain Lance like the arrow is Oliver Queen, and it made perfect sense to him. Like, this happens and that happens, and it's always the case whenever in any superhero shows, like, the person long before they reveal their identity, and once it happens, it's like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Except for like in Flash, because everyone knows really early on for Flash, but in most other shows, it's like once someone finds out, it's like now it all makes sense. You disappearing or kind of seeming like a crappy human being is because you're actually a great human being. Depending on how you look at it, I guess in Lance's case, being a crappy human being still just with arrows and green hood on, but it was fun to watch. It was definitely exciting. The portion that they had in this episode with Oliver and Lance talking, when Lance says, like, Mr. Queen, you're not a hero, you're a villain, that was actually in the Arrow Paley Fest trailer, which was definitely cool to see, that scene come up. There's still another scene that comes up. It might be in the next episode. I would assume it will be, or maybe in 2 episodes or so, but I want to explain what that scene is. You can check out the Paley Fest trailer, and I kind of mentioned this trailer before, but they have one for both Flash and the Arrow, and for Flash, they actually just showed it, so for the most part, the Flash stuff is kind of actually been shown on TV, but the Arrow stuff hasn't, so if you haven't seen either of those, be careful before you check them out, because they could, spoil some stuff that you may have wanted to be a complete surprise, but I was excited to see that little scene, and then, like I said, the surprise ending where Roy comes in as Green Arrow and says, like, you got the wrong guy, I'm actually the Green Arrow. And of course, Lance knows he was Arsenal to begin with, so it'll be cool to see how that plays out, where Lance obviously can't say, like, oh, I know he was Red Arrow, and everyone just believes him. They have to kind of do it by the books. They have to do it, law-based, and if he says he's the one who did it, and Oliver Queen, denies that, then that's just how it's going to be, no matter, what little evidence you have, which admittedly is this, mysterious figure saying, like, it's Oliver Queen and it's only to the captain. So they kind of have to go with Roy being Green Arrow, and based on the trailer, Roy's obviously going to be fighting like crazy in prison because, of course, Arrow and Arsenal, as well as Black Canary, they're putting prisoners away for, it's been like 3 years now, for Oliver as the Arrow. They've been putting people away. Well, they've been putting people away for like 2 years, because the first time he was just killing everybody. But they've been putting people away for about 2 years now. And, you go in saying that you're the Green Arrow, or the Arrow, since they aren't calling him Green Arrow yet. You come in saying that you're Arrow. He's going to be fighting like crazy inside this prison, trying to stay alive. And I'm sure he'll be perfectly fine. But it'll be cool to see some, Roy-based fight scenes where he's just by himself, and it's not even as Arsenal, it's just Roy as Roy trying to survive inside a prison of all places. Like, it's going to be pretty cool to see that happen. But we got Ra's al Ghul and Maseo and stuff. The fight scene they had early on in the episode was definitely cool, with Oliver, Roy, and Laurel all fighting against the League, and Maseo versus Oliver was just really crazy. It was like, I know he was following the rules of Ra's al Ghul, but it was just crazy to see him actually take on Oliver and, try to do everything he could to kind of kill him, really. And it was just crazy to see that. And every time I see him do something like that, it's just like, what happened that really brought that change? And I know I've said this like a million times already. You guys are probably tired of hearing it, but it keeps bringing me right back to the fact that we have no idea where his son is. in the current timeline. Like, we don't know where he is in the present or if he's even still alive. And I feel like that's the only thing that would just make him sort of branch off. Like, Katana is still herself, and I thought she was going to be brought in, and maybe she still will be. But Oliver was mentioning earlier when he was talking to Diggle, like when they were trying to find Miseo, um, he was, Oliver was like, I don't know where to find him, but I think I know someone who might. I figured he meant Katana, and they'd be bringing her in, and they probably still will, because believe that was, I believe that was before they ended up fighting and everything. But technically, he still doesn't know where Miseo is. He can't just go and say like, hey, stop killing a bunch of people. So that may or may not happen. I hope it does, because Katana was really only in like one portion as far as the present timeline goes. And it would be cool to see them kind of try to help Miseo come back to the Miseo that he is in the flashback portions of the episodes, because he's so different now. And you can tell even Katana sees how different he is compared to how he used to be, and how she's, if their son has passed on, then she's kind of the one who is able to adjust to it much easier than he was, and he kind of went down a much darker path where he kind of, went down the path of, just killing people to kind of block out everything else that happened to him, and, losing his son. But we'll still have to wait and see how all that stuff plays out. It would be cool. It would be great to see Katana come into the present timeline as a big focus like Miseo has now, and stay within the city for quite some time. And I'm really excited to see what they do with it. But, we'll just have to wait and see as far as that goes. And then a lot of the stuff that happened in the trailer with them showing like Oliver and Felicity, I'm sure that was great for a bunch of people, which had a huge moment in this episode when Ray said that he loved Felicity, and she didn't exactly give him the sentence that he was looking for in return. But, it speaks volumes that she didn't say it back. So it's kind of just going to go down that normal path. They're probably going to stay together for a little bit, and then Ray will just, be the genius he is and say, like, I know it's not going to work because, I said I loved you, and you were talking about getting me, like, some, hospital jello and stuff. So that's probably going to be a couple more episodes, maybe 4 or 5, and he'll realize it or something. But it should be good. It should be interesting to see how that stuff plays out. And wherever they were, it seemed like they were in Nanda Parbat when they did that. Like in that scene when Felicity opens up the door, it's like candles and stuff, and it looks like they're inside of a castle. So I'm pretty sure that was after Oliver accepted the offer to become the next Ra's al Ghul, because he even says it like, I'm heir to the demon and stuff like that, and you will obey. So I guess he does decide to accept at some point in the future when things kind of die down, because he does leave, and it seems like things are going to be really weird for an episode or two, and they just kind of have to leave the city and raise hands. And they do like sort of a weird team up and all this stuff, and they kind of follow along with Roy's plan of him being the Arrow. So Ray has to come in and with his Atom suit and kind of take people out. So it should be very interesting to see an arrowless city, and Ray's flying around with Oliver using the little headset to control all of his movements and stuff like that. So I don't know what to really expect from it, but it should be something very interesting. And they also have a crossover with Flash later on in the season, where Ray goes over to Flash with Felicity, and I guess they just help him make the suit better or something like that. So he's definitely got a lot of cool stuff coming up for his character, and advancements in the suit and stuff. And obviously he has his own advancements. He basically saved his own life with nanotechnology in this episode, and Felicity kind of had to take that risk. And of course we all knew he'd survive, but it was cool. And I was thinking, with him having this nanotech in his bloodstream, it could easily just end up getting filtered out. That might be how he designed it. But it seemed like the perfect way to just have it where he has more, he's more in tune with his suit. Like he has these nanobites, inside of his system. He could have that, be almost a mental thing where he connects with his suit or something, and that could easily be how they play it. But once again, we'll have to wait and see. But it should be cool. I'm actually really excited to see him use his suit a lot more, because we saw him take off when he first started, and then we saw him when he fought against Oliver and Roy, and that's pretty much been it. Like his suit got knocked out because Oliver's amazing, and he took out that giant disc on his leg, and we haven't really seen that since, because obviously he got hit by an arrow, so he's been in the hospital. But I want to see him get back out there, and I want to see him flying around, see him, shoot some concussive blasts or whatever he's gonna call them, and maybe even have some more stuff. Like maybe he'll, I don't know, have like some crazy disc-based weapons or something like that, trapping people in fields, all sorts of crazy technology that doesn't really exist. But it should be pretty cool. I'm definitely excited for that. Lance in this episode is definitely good. Like his character has been on such a crazy trip after finding out that Sarah was actually dead. And it's just been crazy to watch because he doesn't really trust Laurel anymore. He doesn't really, you know, he doesn't feel the same way about her. He obviously, as he even mentioned, which I thought was amazing dialogue for his character, when he mentions how it's crazy things go full circle because he blamed Oliver for losing Sarah in the first place when she went on the boat trip, and now he blames him as Arrow for losing Sarah completely, like for the final time, and also doing all these other things, or kind of steamrolling a bunch of other things, and putting a lot of other stuff into motion with other superheroes and supervillains coming into the city as well. So that was definitely cool, and I'm loving his character, and I've always liked this character. Like, oddly enough, he's kind of like the secondary antagonist when you really think about it, going after the team and stuff like that. But he's got great motives. He's still a good character. He's still doing things in a good way. It's just that he's obviously going up against like the actual heroes, and they didn't plan on any of this stuff happening. They didn't force any of it to happen. Oliver not accepting Ra's al Ghul's deal shouldn't have led to Ra's al Ghul having like a temper tantrum and just dropping people like flies. That shouldn't have been the case, but it does ultimately go back to Oliver when you look at it in a certain way, and you do kind of tie it all to him. So I understand where Lance is coming from. It obviously just sucks. So that's just how it's going to be for his character for who knows how long, like until something else happens, like the next big thing happens. That's just how it's going to be, and I don't know what could possibly get him to the point where he decides to accept Oliver and the rest of the team for everything that's happened. And he doesn't really blame anyone but Oliver, but I just don't know where he could possibly go, from here, where he could go that would allow him to even remotely consider, trusting Oliver again in the future. So, I'm excited to see how all that stuff plays out. Obviously, Oliver being outed once again as Green Arrow should be interesting, because at some point there's going to be a character, maybe not this season but next season, who's going to say like, this has come up 2 separate times where people have thought he was the Arrow and he's gotten out of it twice. Some villain is going to use that and be like, this guy is definitely Green Arrow. It might be more than one person, really, and it could be someone who's a villain. It could be other heroes who just decide to find him, that way. Like, it's come up twice, and you just happen to escape by because of this or because of that. Maybe you really are Arrow. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, at some point, you say it so many times, it doesn't matter if you've been exonerated or someone else gives themselves up to say that it's not you. It comes up 2 separate times, 3, 4, 5 times in a row, and you just skate by each time. People are gonna know it's you. So I feel like they've done it, especially on the really grand scale this time. I feel like they've done that for sure, where it's gonna be in the minds of a lot of people in future episodes. And like I said, it may not actually be this season, but I feel like that has to be somewhere down the line where people kind of use that. Like, it's the first time, sure. Second time by the exact same person, and he goes on TV and has like a full-on press conference saying that he believes it's you and stuff like that. A little bit suspicious. So I hope they utilize that. I would love to see that utilized in this season, where if they end up beating like Ra's al Ghul and all that stuff really fast, and then it's like another villain comes in. But I don't think that'll happen, because it's Ra's al Ghul. He's a pretty big villain, so he'll be here for a while. So which I'm definitely excited for, and I want to see him fight again, honestly. But I don't think that's gonna happen. At least not Ra's al Ghul versus Oliver again. But it was a great episode. We get to see the team really rally behind Oliver and all the crazy crap that's going on. They had to worry about themselves being killed early on in the episode, and worry about each other and stuff. And now we have to wait and see what happens with Roy. I'm sure he'll get out at some point somehow. And Oliver's plan is definitely to break him out of prison. which means that he'd kind of have to leave the city if that were the case. So I don't know how things are going to play out, but I'm definitely excited for it. Of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, least favorite parts, and I want to know what you guys think is going to happen with Roy and Oliver and really the rest of the team. Like, Oliver, is he going to accept the deal with Ra's al Ghul permanently, which I highly doubt. I think we all doubt that. But, is he going to accept the deal? How's he going to get Roy out? Like, what's going to happen? Even if he, like I said, if he breaks him out of prison, it's not like he can just go around and walk around the city anymore. He'd have to go into hiding or, like, leave the country, really, in order to stop being chased and, deemed as the Arrow. So there are a lot of different facets, a lot of different, avenues, and a lot of different ways this thing could go. But we kind of have to just wait and see. But like I said, I want to know what you guys think. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.